This is Weekend Winners, proudly brought to you by One Equine for the Equine Athlete. We're back at Albion Park, headquarters Saturday night. 10-race program kicking off at 5:14. The highlight race this weekend, the free-for-all, the open pace, race number 4, former West Aussie speedster Penny Tiger making his Albion Park debut, coming off a really good trial in good time. He's drawn to start from gate 3, coming all the way over from Christchurch, New Zealand, Carter Dalgetty. He will take the drive for trainer Mick Mouse Brennan. So we're really looking forward to seeing Penny Tiger strut his stuff. It's a good field though. Whisperer's Secret, he's back in form. Tim's a Trooper low flying, Classy Washington and Jim RT off the second row. That race over the mile, the time is going to be very interesting. The Trotters race at the end of the program, race number 10, also very interesting. That race over the mile, Golden Sunset set the new track record recently. It'll be interesting to see what time they run in that final race on Saturday night. And we're back at Albion Park after some track maintenance, some resurfacing was done earlier in the week in readiness for the upcoming Constellations Inter-Dominion Carnival later in July. So we're going to be on a brand new surface there on Saturday night. In this edition of Weekend Winners, we're going to catch up with Angus Garrard and Tom Callaghan. Angus Garrard jumps in the hot seat. Again, he's got a really good book of drives on Saturday night at Albion Park. We go back to headquarters for a good program, and he's in the chair now. Angus, appreciate the time.
Always a pleasure, Chris.
Did you like your book of drives when you had your first glance earlier in the week?
Yeah, look, got a little bit of power there, so hopefully it sort of pans out like it could.
Okay, well, we just need that little bit of luck. What about this first race? Good prize money up the grabs, always brings a good field together, and this race is no exception. In Excess, you know this horse well. You've had feature race success with him previously. He's fresh up. Trial form looks okay. What are the expectations here?
Yeah, look, he's obviously a horse with really good ability. We saw what he did sort of through the Winter Carnival last year. Obviously, he'll probably take good improvement out of this run Saturday night, but I think it's a handy enough draw for us where we can sort of be quite competitive, and his 2 trials were behind 2 quite good open class horses, so I think he should be pretty close.
Okay, given that it is a strong race, there's going to be good tempo, that looks guaranteed, so that draw inside of the second row probably looks ideal in many ways because you don't have to get involved early and you get that fairly soft trip in transit.
Yeah, that's right. It'll definitely suit him, and the fence is gold at Albion Park on a Saturday night in particular, so it's definitely a good starting point, especially first up.
All right, so whatever he does, keep following him?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. What about in race 2? So this will be a difficult drive given the barrier draw. Gate 7, Prince Joy. He's going well, he's always thereabouts. How do you rate his chances?
Yeah, look, he's racing super, Chris, but the barrier draw probably puts a big dent in our hopes, so we're going to need a lot of luck from there. But in saying that, if it happened and the race was run sort of right upside down, he could sort of bowl up and earn some money.
All right, so you're going back, you cop your medicine and just drive for luck over the latter part?
Yeah, I think so. It looks that way.
All right. Race number 3. I'm fascinated to get your thoughts here on this guy. He's come back in super form, probably going better than ever. Back to Batuta, trained by your dad, Darren. All 3 runs this prep have been excellent. Have you got the right race for him this weekend?
Oh, look, I think it's probably the right field, just the wrong draw. As you say, he's come back super and he is flying, but it's just a little sticky on paper to see where we get to, but in saying that, I think he's going good enough now, and his racing manners are good enough that we can sort of drive him for a bit of versatility.
Okay, so when you first laid eyes on this field, what was your first thought? Are you likely to go forward, or are you sort of just going to play it by ear early?
First thought was I wish we drew 2, but after that, he's probably just a horse that we've just got to have a look and see what the tempo's like. I do think he's a little better if we don't sort of buzz him off the gate hard, but I think he's at a stage now where he can work forward if he has to. So if it looks like there's going to be a good spot for us up close, then we'll try and be there. But if not, we'll just tuck him in. He has got enough speed to sort of come from back in the field.
Is he one of those horses, Angus, that if you use him early, does he want to fight you thereafter?
Oh, look, he definitely used to be. In saying that, this time in, he's been really good. We just sort of made one minor gear change with him, and he's been super. So, you know, his racing manners have been spot on this time in so far, so I can't see why that'll change.
It's a good field. It's a really strong field. So did that surprise you, you know, when you first looked at the field, how many sort of winning chances appeared in this field?
Oh, yes and no. You know, just probably the way the sort of handicapping system's set up on a Saturday night at the moment. We're sort of getting a lot of good horses that are dropping back into that band 5 grade, so they're sort of tough all the time now. But you know, it wasn't overly surprising.
Okay. What about race 4, the Open? Classy Washington is your drive here. He's had the 2 runs back, placed in both. He draws nice and handy here, gate 2. He looks like he's going to be a leading player.
Yeah, look, his runs back have been really good. He's in good form and he seems well in himself, so I'm sure he'll race good. It's probably a nice handy draw where we don't have to do anything to land in a reasonable enough spot, so it'll probably just be good for us if a couple go to war a little bit through the middle.
Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, look, it's a chance. It's a race where the form's a little tricky to line up. You know, we've got Penny Tiger coming back sort of off a break and first up in Queensland, so you know, it's a little tough to line them up, and Black Sedance's the same, he's first up, so you know, there could be a bit of a battle there at some stage, and I'm sure that'll help us.
Okay. You've got really good options here from gate 2. He's a horse with good gate speed, but if you don't use him early, you're immediately in the running line, and like you said, there's a couple of hard-fit horses here that are likely to push on to your outside, so either scenario, you're going to be in a really good position.
Yeah, look, it should work out okay for us either way, and we should be in a good spot to at least take a chunk of money.
Okay, well, that's Classy Washington. Race 5, here's another really good chance. Monsieur Delicoeur. He's flying. His past couple of runs have been excellent, and he gets a key draw here on Saturday night. Are you excited about his chances?
Yeah, for sure. He's really hit good form. You know, I first sat behind him sort of through that Marburg series, and he was quite good there, sort of made a little mistake in the final, but sort of he felt quite good, and he's really gone on with that form. So, you know, I can't see why he won't race really good again on Saturday night.
The fact that he's got a good draw, there was no standout in this field to my eye. I thought, gee, he's going to be well found, this guy.
Yeah, he should be right in it. And, you know, as you say, it's probably the most positive draw he's had for a little bit in this sort of race. So, hopefully he sort of shows up again on Saturday night.
Does he feel like he's got good early speed? Can he make use of the good draw?
Yeah, he does have quite good speed. You know, he feels like he can get out. We might just have to pump him up a little bit, but, you know, if we need to, we can do that.
Yeah. Most times when he goes around, he's either wide off the front row, off the second row. It's rare to see him with a good draw.
Yeah, that's it. He's sort of a horse that just doesn't have any luck in that way, so hopefully we can make use of it Saturday.
All right. We've got the handicap coming through here as race 6 on Saturday night. Rock Supreme, you drove this guy last week. He probably just put in a couple of fancy steps soon after the start, but thereafter, he was an eye-catcher.
Yeah, he certainly was, Chris. You know, people probably think I'm silly, but I don't think if he gets away there last Saturday night, he probably wins. So, you know, we sort of... I said to Bryce after the race, I said, I think you're probably better off putting him OD. He wants to step away, but he's just sort of getting a bit sort of frazzled with a bit going on when the tapes go. So hopefully sort of OD this week we can get him away, and I do think he's a really good hope.
Yeah, very similar type field to what he faced last week. There are a couple of different horses, Turn It Up and Always Smoke, and they're class, but with normal luck, a safe beginning, he can sort of get into the prize a little bit here.
Yeah, he definitely can, you know, and especially, you know, a couple of those horses, like you just said, they might throw a little more speed in there, which should suit him as well. So, you know, step one, we got to make sure we pace away, but after that, if he can posse up okay, he wouldn't shock me.
Okay, another good drive coming up for you is in race 7. Blue Suede Rocker. Ross Jackson's done a really good job with this guy. He's a last start winner. He draws the inside of the second row, but I think he rates as a winning chance here.
Yeah, certainly. He's been flying the whole time Ross has had him, you know. I've sort of had really good luck behind him, and he feels like he's kept improving. So that's probably a perfect draw for him, sort of stepping into this grade at Albion, and hopefully we get a good trip.
Okay, so he didn't surprise you in any way, shape or form with that win at Redcliffe last time out?
No, not at all. He's been racing really good. The start before he got caught parked and had to do a fair bit of work in good time. So, he's a horse that seems to be able to find the line really well off cover, and he was really good there last week, and I'm sure he raced good again on Saturday night.
This race looks open. The horse you're drawn to follow out, he was okay last week. He was another one that was an eye catcher, that Bart Bentley, so you should land a pretty good spot here.
Yeah, that's right. Hopefully, 2 or 3 fence will be good enough for us, and I'm sure he'll hit the line well.
All right, the last race, this is the trot. Get used to it. You were tossing up earlier in the week. Sir Fahrenheit or Get Used to It. Get Used to It backs up after winning last Saturday night. You've opted for Get Used to It. Why can't he win again?
No, I think he'll race really good, Chris. I'm actually quite keen for Saturday night. Just the way the draws panned out, I'm quite keen to sort of be able to drive him off cover, hopefully.
Yeah.
He's sort of shown that he can do it on the front end, but, I think we could see quite a nice horse off a helmet. So I'm quite keen for Saturday night. We've got options, and hopefully there's a little bit of speed on.
He's got that little habit. He can put away his rivals, but then he can sort of switch off himself. But I'm not surprised that you're saying that off a helmet, he could be probably even a little sharper than what he has been when he leads in his races. So this is a great opportunity on Saturday night to showcase that sit-sprint sort of element to his game.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's sort of the perfect spot for us there. There's sort of no one to our outside, so we can do what we want at the start and sort of see how the race is going to shape up, and we should land ourselves in a reasonable enough spot, I think.
Okay, Sir Fahrenheit, the other runner that you were tossing up with, he's going well, so we've got to keep following him also.
Yeah, for sure. The old boy, he's flying. He just sort of probably needs a little bit of luck and a barrier draw.
Okay, well, you've got some really good options there on Saturday night with all of your drives. Which one are you most looking forward to?
Look, I think Get Used to It. Like I just said, I'm quite keen to sort of drive him off a helmet, and hopefully we get that chance on Saturday night and he can sort of show where he's at.
Righto, race 10, number 8, Get Used to It. Angus, as always, appreciate the time, and we'll see you trackside.
No worries. Thanks, Chris.
It's a big weekend coming up for Tom Callaghan. He's here, there and everywhere. Newcastle Friday night, at Albion Park headquarters on Saturday night. He's got a good book of drives. He joins me now. Tom, appreciate the time.
No worries, Chris. Thanks for having me.
First race Saturday night, you picked up the drive on Teddy Turpin. You know this horse well. He's going exceptionally well. He's been placed in all 4 starts so far this prep. How do you rate his chances on the weekend?
Yeah, he's been flying, as you say, Chris. Looks a bit of a sticky draw there Saturday night, but if he races as good as what he has been, I'm sure he'll be in the money again.
That's the thing that stands out with Teddy Turpin so far this campaign. He can't get a draw, and again, he's got a very awkward draw on Saturday night.
Yeah, it looks that way, and he's been racing without luck, having a few tough trips, and still running good races. So if we can get him into a good spot, I'm sure he'll finish the race off well.
At this early stage, do you just sort of play it by ear, or are you going straight back and just hoping for all the best?
Oh, I don't see there any point going straight back from out there. You always slide across and see if there's a spot there. If one opens up when I'm dragging back, we'll pop in there. But, we'll just float across, and if there's a spot there, we'll pop into it.
All right. It looks like all the major players in this race are drawn to your inside, which probably makes it a little bit more difficult for you just trying to plot your path.
Yeah, it does. Obviously, it looks like there's a few nice ones in there. Apollo Dreams has been flying, and Attachments seem to have found a nice race first up. So, they're going to be hard to beat, but we'll be hitting the line well.
You drove Attachment in a recent trial, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, he looked all right in that trial too.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with him.
Okay, so he looks like he's going to be hard to beat, but your guy is flying, and he's race fit Teddy Turpin. What about race 2? You're driving your old mate here, Zoom Party. You've built a good rapport with this guy. He comes up with a good draw. It's only a mile. Do you rate his chances highly?
Oh, you can never be too confident with Zoomy. He seems to be finding one better at the moment, but he's flying. He's racing really well. He's going to hit the line hard again, so we'll give him an each-way chance.
Okay, looking at the field, do you sort of want to try and find the marker line and then release something else? What was your initial thought when the field came out?
Oh, I'd like to get into a 4 position without doing too much, Chris. He seems to race a bit better when you don't burn him early, so We'll see how we can come out, and if we don't have to do too much to get to the fence, we'll aim up for that spot.
All right, Barry Limbo to your inside. He's got gate speed. Looks like Lenny Lincoln probably likely to go forward. So you might have some thinking to do at the start there.
Yeah, it looks a little bit tricky again. So, if we can find a spot nice and quick, he's going to savage the line.
Okay. What about in race 3? Lochinvar Jag. You know this guy really well. Last start winner. He's another one that's going absolutely super. He looks really hard to beat here.
Yeah, it looks that way, Chris. He's low flying, this guy. We're really happy with him, and, he raced really well 2 weeks ago. So if he can bring that form again, he's going to be hard to run down.
Plan A, is it to try and lead again here?
Yeah, I think so. He looks to race best on the front end, so we'll be pretty aggressive early, and if he can find the top, he's going to take a power beating.
Yeah. His recent win that we're looking at right here, he was strong. He travelled really well. Has he trained on since?
Yeah, I think so. He seems to have picked up. He had three runs in a row there since travelling up, and he's had a week off. He seems really good at home, so really happy with him. Dad's doing a really good job with him, and we're pretty confident going into Saturday.
All right. Speaking of your dad, Mark, he's got the mare in this race as well, Swell Time, who you've been driving. I know you've opted for Lochinvar Jag with the claim, but that mare, she's done a super job so far up here.
Yeah, she has. I love that mare, Chris. Dad always told me she'd be the one that put me on the map, and he wasn't wrong. So, it was hard to jump off her, but if you're going to hand the reins over to anyone, you're happy to hand them to Pete.
Okay, so that being said, if you weren't driving Jag with a claim and they were just in this race together, would you have opted for Swell Time?
Oh, yeah, I think so, Chris.
Yeah.
I've got a real soft spot for her, and we seem to get on pretty good. So, yeah, I think I would have.
All right, so you'll take a Quinella result on Saturday night, Lochinvar Jag and Swell Time?
More than happy.
Okay. What about race 4? This is the Open. You've picked up the drive on Black Sedance. Now, he was the first horse to go sub-49 at Albion Park. He used to be the track record holder. He's first up. What are the expectations?
I think he'll run well, Chris. Obviously, it's hard going first up into an open grade and performing at your peak, but, we're pretty happy with him. His trial was pretty sharp, and there's a few there with race fit, Whisper of Secrets, Low Flying, and Penny Tiger's drawn to our inside. So it's a little bit tricky again, but I'm sure he'll race really well.
He's a hard horse to read, Black Sedance, because he only does what he normally needs to do. But at this point, and looking at the trial, is he right where they want him to be? Is he ahead of schedule? What's the vibe coming out of the camp with Black Sedance?
Yeah, I think they've got him where they want him to be, Chris. Obviously the Inter Dominion's coming up, so he's not going to be screwed right down just yet. But, he'll have a few runs, and I'm sure he'll get better and better with each run.
Okay. Do you want to be aggressive here? Do you just sort of take it, as it comes, and they do you do what you are told to do? So, what are the early thoughts tactically with Black Sedance?
Oh, you probably can't get too aggressive with Penny Tiger drawn to your inside. Obviously, he flies the gate, and watching a few of his runs back in the Summer Carnival up here, he was hitting the line really well off cover. So, he's pretty versatile, the old fella, and I'm sure he'll run really well. Yeah,
he's a little underrated in that respect. It's a good point you raised there that, we normally see him up on the front end doing all the bullocking work, but some of his best runs have been off a helmet.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Chris. I was following that Summer Carnival a bit. Jack was up here driving a few, and I noticed his runs, and they were awesome off cover there. So he's going to hit the line really well, no matter what trip he has.
Okay, well, that's a great opportunity for you. They're driving Black Sedance. And what about in race 9? All Night Dancer. She's got barrier 1. It's a mile. You know this mare. Can she make full use of this setup on the weekend?
Yeah, let's hope so, Chris. She's been racing pretty well, and last time I drove her, she hit the line really well. And gate 1 looks nice for her. Should get a good trip in behind them there, and she should get a chance.
That's her best go, isn't it? Off cover?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, all right. You've got plenty of options to your outside there. There's a few natural sort of go-forward mares, so you're going to have plenty of options at the start.
Yeah, it looks that way, and, we'll just weigh up who's coming across and who's there the earliest. We don't want to be copping too much pressure, but want to be following the right ones. So, we'll make our decision out there.
So you've got some good drives for Ronnie there on Saturday night. He's a good man to drive for.
Yeah, he is. God bless Ronnie. He keeps putting me on, and we haven't had overly a lot of luck, but we keep earning checks, so that's all Ronnie asked for.
All right, well, that's all you can do. Hopefully there's a few winners coming your way on the weekend. Which one are you most looking forward to?
Probably Lochinvar Jag, Chris. He's racing really well. We're really happy with him, and he looks to get a nice trip there again. So I think he's my best on Saturday night.
Okay, race 3, number 3. That's an easy one to remember. Tommy, as always, appreciate the time. We'll see you trackside. Enjoy the weekend.
No worries. Thanks, Chris.
As always, a big thanks to our 2 drivers this week, Angus, Garrard, Tom Callaghan, both with some really good chances there, and we wish both guys the very best of luck. Time now to find a good thing for this meeting on Saturday night. I think we can strike early. Race 2, number 5, Maybe. There's no maybe about it. I think this horse looks very well placed here. First up in Queensland, former New South Wales pacer, now joins the stables of Mouse Brennan. Carter Delgetty takes the drive. Looked good in a recent trial. I think they've tinkered with some gear changes there, and he looks hard to beat. I think they can be aggressive with him and score first up, so I like his chances. Race 2, number 5, Maybe. 10 races. We kick off at 5:14. If you are gambling this weekend, please do so responsibly. Looking forward to going back to Albion Park on Saturday night, and it's a strong program starting just after 5.